everybody. Welcome to Just the Beginning. My name is Rashida. I'm the Ally Coach. And with me today, do you see, like earlier, you don't see it now. I'm a little bit more professional now. When they first got on the camera, I was like this because I was trying to be in their space so hard. This is someone I love so deep and so hard. Do you have, just really quickly, do you have a friend or a family member that you see, every once in a while, you don't see on a regular basis, but when you link back up, it's like no time has passed? That is me and Miranda. That is how we live. And I haven't talked to you and I don't know how long, but that doesn't matter because we are
Mm,
right back in this thing. I love
Yeah,
you so deep. Thank
I
you so
like
much for being here with me.
thanks for the invitation and the space. I'm grateful. I'll always talk about the good news.
Yes, I heard that. Oh my God. Okay, okay. So I'm tingly already because we talked a little bit before I pressed record, and I was like, oh my God, I have to press record because this stuff is so good. So I met Miranda back in the winter of 14, 13, something like that.
Yeah.
And you were there through my fertility and pregnancy and having a birth and
Mm,
me learning about allyship and what it's supposed to be, at
mm,
least. And me and trying and doing my best to embody that. And you taught me and continue to teach me so much. And I'm so excited because the world gets to have a little bit of your nuggets today. So today I want to talk about a lot of thick stuff. So we're gonna get to the thick stuff in a minute. We're gonna start with something real easy peasy. Ready? What is
Right.
it? What does ally mean to you?
Not thick
Easy
at all.
peasy.
Oh, well, I appreciate the way that we were talking about this a little bit earlier and how you were like, how
Uh-huh.
it's changed since I met you, because my goodness,
Yeah.
what that means now is
Versus, yeah, back then.
so much different than then. And we learned, I feel like we like experienced a lot together inside the work we were doing that I think for me at least really
Trauma. Are you talking about the trauma we
right,
experienced
right.
together?
That part that really helped form yeah, reform and reform what ally means to me. So I'm gonna say what it means to me now, which is
That's the most important.
showing up. One, showing up, and it's showing up even if you are not physically or in proximity to whoever it is that you are trying to show up for, right? So yeah, I do mean like the things to show up for, right? Like giving testimony. Why, that is the first thought in my head. I don't know why, but like,
Okay, I love that.
like doing the things for folks who are being oppressed or being most marginalized, being attacked. Yeah, like show up to the things, but also how are you showing up for folks when they're not around and when there's not an event to go to and when there's not a
Yes.
like how what does it mean to have the integrity and inside of showing up? So that like showing up and also knowing when to shut up has been a huge transformation for me because when we met, I looked like a girl and people thought I was a girl, and I'm not a girl, but I don't look like one anymore.
Mhm.
And so like now, a lot of my allyship is shutting the hell up, and remembering that I'm a white man in the room, and we've heard a lot from us. We've heard a lot from us. So I cannot. And as a Gemini in fourth placements in the first house, that's been a thing to learn and practice.
Ooh-wee.
And yeah, and as a white person, leave my whiteness out of that. It's been a thing to learn and practice, and I'm gonna still do it. And then also when to like own your power, and again, like
Yeah.
go up and say the thing. And I think always trying to be as constantly discerning as possible as to like what, when, and what you should be doing in that moment, right? Like, what
Yeah.
does it mean for me in this moment to be an ally? Well, if I was shutting up right now, I wouldn't be showing up to what it means to be an ally in this moment, right?
Yep. Yep.
So like I think the discernment piece is also like that commitment to being discerning on what you should be doing given any given context and who you are and how you're situated in the world.
I love that. I love that. Someone asked me to speak to a group of LGBTQ plus folks about being an ally to LGBTQ plus folks. And I was like, I don't feel like that's appropriate. Like, I don't think that that's where I'm supposed to be. Thank you.
Right. And that's okay, like I've only felt like that those decisions I've made to like say no to the thing have been as abundantly blessed as the things to say yes to.
100%. I mean, and you have to lead by example for sure.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. And also being willing to get it wrong, right?
Always.
Also, oh my God, that Gemini, I have to talk to you about your friend, the one that I birthed, that's a Gemini. We'll talk about her later. Whew, I need all the
Right.
advice for raising a Gemini. Okay.
I mean, me too. I'm also raising a Gemini.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, we'll talk.
Mhm.
Okay. So I saw after the election, you posted something about mutual aid.
Mhm.
And I had seen that a couple of more places, and I wasn't familiar with the term. And I was like, I'm just going to need to ask. And so I know that there are probably a lot of people who are watching today who aren't familiar with the term, but would, especially under further research, would be super interested in it. So, and I think that it is a form of true allyship. So, can you tell me a little bit about it?
Obviously, always and forever. Yeah, it's the good news. The good news is we have everything we need, and we are all that we need, and we're right here. And that's mutual aid in its essence, like
Mhm.
that's mutual aid. And it takes a lot of forms, and it's taken a lot of forms over the course of history. It's an indigenous practice and principle.
Mhm.
If colonization was not here, like
It's
the
what will be going on.
what was yes, absolutely. And Black folks have been practicing mutual aid and forming mutual aid groups and societies ever since before emancipation and Juneteenth and in Anne. And so we have all these examples of folks where the government was not doing for or providing for, right? In fact, like
Mhm.
the government was directly attacking and not considering these communities as communities or human beings as human beings, right?
Mhm.
And so like there was no government reliance. There was no like, oh, how would I get this grant for that? How do I get this grant for this, right? Like
Mhm.
folks were just mutual aid is the concept of just doing for your community and receiving from your community because we actually do have everything that we need. And we found like also through history how it shows up pretty much every time that there's a global or social crisis because I don't know if you lived through COVID-19, but gratefully I have, still am, how we
Mhm.
are.
Yeah.
But when we were in lockdown and when all the supply chains were like, whoa, whoa, um,
Right.
it was mutual aid who again rose to the occasion and neighbors doing for neighbors and doing grocery pickups and drop-offs and how are
Mhm.
we going to care for our disabled neighbors? How are we going to care for the most marginalized folks who, you know, it, especially in hospitality and so many industries that were just, like we can't pay you and not it, you can't come to work means you don't get paid, right? Um,
Right.
and before there was ever a STEM check, there were neighbors doing for each other to help us
Yeah.
survive this thing. And so like that's a really a more recent way we've seen it grow and bloom and surface because it's always happening. It's always happening.
Mhm.
Um, by groups and by folks that we'll never know across history and right now. And then also right now in this moment, politically, folks are also like, yeah, build with your community, build with their community. They're saying get involved in mutual aid, right? Like understand
Yeah.
the deep revelation of the fact that we actually do have everything we need. I started learning how to grow food recently and flowers, and the earth is so abundant. It is so abundant. Like we could feed everyone. The reason people go hungry and starving is not because the earth
You
is
don't
not
have
trying
enough.
to give us. It's not because we don't have enough. It's
Mhm.
because of white supremacist capitalism, as we know. And so,
Yeah.
like, yeah, having that deep personal revelation of we do have everything we need, and the earth has everything we need. And to get in connection with ourselves and each other and the earth means the radical thing that is then like the result of which is mutual aid, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a practice, it's a process we engage in, and it's also like the more we practice it, the more we're building the world where like we covered mutual aid, right? And like
Hmm.
here's the world we want to live in, where it's really neighbor for neighbor, local, and we're sustaining we're
Yeah.
sustaining. Yeah.
I love that. And I was talking to a friend a few days ago, and I was talking about how work like this is turning our programming on its ear. When
Mm,
we are born, just as humans, it is our natural state to want to make sure our fellow human is okay.
right.
That is programmed out of us.
Hmm.
And we are programmed into lack
Yeah.
and that's of resources, of empathy, of everything that a human needs to survive.
Yeah.
We are programmed that there isn't enough of any of that stuff,
Hmm.
which is a complete lie.
Yeah.
And in performing acts, and not even performing acts, but like living the act of mutual aid, of true allyship,
Hmm.
is going back to our original state. It's like coming back to our true selves,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Reminds me of what Bell Hooks called self-recovery. Yeah, and the more we
Ooh,
recover ourselves, the more that we like get to like
I love
what
that.
what are our guts, right? Like what are our actual like bones in here and what our cells are made of. And even mutual aid is found in every species. And it's really
Yeah.
like a biological phenomenon as well, as I'm saying cells. Literally we're in exchange with our surroundings all the time. The way we breathe is dependent
Yeah.
on the trees around us.
Yes.
That's our literal breath.
Yeah.
And so like that
Yeah.
that is the deep breath of mutual aid. Absolutely.
Oh my word. Like, it's literally everywhere. But now I can, as a Black person in America, think of a bunch of ways that this has happened in my life growing up, right? And I didn't know that's what it was. And my family is just what you do. You
Yep.
just do this. This is
Yep.
what we do,
Right.
right?
Yep.
And so there's no we didn't have a name for it, but it goes so deeper, so much deeper than, making some food when someone passes away or when they have a baby and taking it to their house. It's literally the trees and the breath we take.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
If
it's
you
those
can,
meals. Yes. And it's yeah, the few dollars for gas. And it's everywhere all the time. Um,
yeah,
and yeah, the more we're practicing it, the more that we're practicing interdependence and interconnectedness as opposed to a dependence upon institutions that
hmm,
are not about to fail us. They're already failing us.
it's done. It's been done.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and one of the things that I have been preaching a lot with beginner allies is that your ego, this is like allyship is where your ego goes to die. Like this just isn't about you at all. And except for you healing whatever your stuff is, right? You healing your stuff because I don't want your stuff. Like I don't need your with the things that you have unhealed. So heal your stuff and then you can help. But I think that when you aren't trying to be Captain Save-A-Ho, and you just are being a human with other humans,
Yeah.
that is the energy that creates this beautiful community.
Hmm.
And you
Absolutely.
don't think, well, there isn't a part of your subconscious that's like, I am better than this person, or I am there's something that happens sometimes when blue bracelets are being created
Mhm.
that make someone feel like they need to show something when all you have to do is be.
Mhm.
You know what
Mhm.
I mean?
Yeah, which is also relieving if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like,
It's
oh, I don't
liberating.
have to perform anything. Like, no, you don't have to perform. Actually, be your damn self. And like
Yeah,
you have a gift, right? So like show up with your gifts and listen to what's needed. Like
that's
that's
it.
yeah, yeah,
And it
yeah.
can be that like it not only can be that simple, is actually that simple.
It is because like I don't actually want your performance because I need your authenticity and because
Yes.
we don't do our best work, we aren't our best selves unless we are being ourselves. So like be yourself, be
Please.
yourself.
Please. Please be yourself. That is actually what we prefer. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love that. Okay, I'm probably going to talk more about that because my brain is like, but we were also talking before we started recording about some of the things that you're passionate about right now. So
Mhm.
I was talking career stuff with you, and you were like, "Nah, let me tell you what I'm into right now." And so I would love it if you could tell as much as you want about like what you're sort of what people would know recognize as like your 9 to 5 or your regular job, and then what you're into, like your passion about.
It's all mutual aid. So full time, I teach social work at high school social work, and I literally teach a class on mutual aid that I co-designed with my colleague Diane Kelly.
I love that.
Yeah, and in the world, I am learning to be a farmer, and so also as a social worker, I've done in addition to teaching, I've also done therapy for queer, trans, and polyamorous folks um, in private practice on a part-time basis. And I've been thinking for a few years about like the role of individual therapy inside of this collective healing that we all need. Specifically going through uprisings of 2020 and the lockdowns, COVID and everything, and just like we're experiencing these traumas collectively, and
Hmm.
we're trying to individual therapy it away, and that is or through it, and
Hmm.
that doesn't feel like even, like a good in my like ABCs of social work, like that's not a good treatment plan. Like that's not
Yeah.
how do we
Yeah.
what are we really looking for here? And so I'm in a moment right now where I'm really just assessing that with myself and with my energy, as well as like what's my space inside of this collective moment and where we are and where we're going. And I really do believe it's with the collective that it's groups, that it's building groups and communities to start a million experiments which is a documentary about mutual aid that I highly recommend. Where
What is
we're
it called
starting
again?
a million experiments.
Okay.
We're starting all these experiments to try to figure out how to build the world that we want and need here and right now. And the more we experiment, the more we're figuring it out, right? Miriam
Yeah.
Kaba also like talks about the vital role of experimentation. And so yeah, I'm involved in a few experiments right now that I'm really passionate about. I'm with this farming collective. We've been farming and growing and learning together for the past 6 or so months, and have just developed this really amazing, yeah, group of folks. And so
What has come out of farming? What have you learned
hmm,
by farming?
we don't have all the time for that. Uh, but it is truly like it has been the deep confirmation of what my spirit knows about mutual aid, which is that the earth really does have everything we need. Like the
Hmm.
smallest bits of land will produce enough food to feed so many people. I mean,
Hmm.
it's incredible. And I'm churchy, so I'm going to say it's incredible what God does.
Amen.
Thank you. Uh, and it really is. And so I think like and for me personally, that's another thing that like yeah, like when I'm thinking about what's my practice and what's my role, there's just so many also healing properties to our nervous system, and it has been so healing for me, even like
Mm.
on a cellular level, healing for me and regulating for me, and has helped me through just some of the deepest grief that I've experienced, honestly, and has been like more effective than therapy. I'm saying as a therapist, you know what I mean?
Wow. Oh,
In the way that we're also connecting to a larger purpose, right? Like I know when
mhm,
I'm putting these tomatillo starts in the ground, like those are going to feed people, and like,
mhm.
uh, and I'm connecting with other folks who are also doing the work. And so me personally, it's been a revelation and it's been a really deep confirmation that we really do have everything we need when we reconnect with the land and ourselves and each other.
I love that.
Yeah, God is
I
good.
love that. So, if someone were fired up and listening to this, like, yes, this sounds amazing, how would they begin their journey into mutual aid?
There's so many ways. What do the people around you need, right? Like, so just like on that, just like basic level, like what do the people
Yeah.
around you need? Because the people we're around, those are our people. Like this is a local thing.
Yeah.
And to get involved with like certain groups, especially here locally in Indy, I'll shout out Circle City Mutual Aid, Food Not Bombs, Because of Atoms, Rats. There's a lot of groups, and wherever community you're in, there's likely a Food Not Bombs close or not far, and other mutual aid groups like doing similar things. Um, and there's, I think, Glassdoor. No, excuse me, not Glassdoor. Let me revert that back. There's a website. You can also Google mutual aid groups, and there are websites that folks have put together that just list a whole bunch of them. I think
Oh,
there's a
that's
mutual aid hub
excellent.
somewhere online where you can like click and find folks who are close to you. So when I tell you like this work is always happening, no matter
Mhm.
the administration and no matter the public reactivity or not, like this work is always happening because it's the stuff that keeps communities going. It is our
Yeah.
survival and it's our liberation. Yeah.
And it's that stuff that they talk about when, there's a terrible tornado or a hurricane or whatever, and there's not, I think, enough credit due to they call it the human spirit or whatever. But I
Mhm.
think it is more so just like I said earlier, us coming back to our natural selves
Absolutely.
and being yeah, who we were meant to be in the beginning. In the episode before this, I was talking about how my neighbor next door has chickens and she's like, eggs are too expensive. Come get some of these eggs. I'm like, okay, girl, thank you. And
Joy.
that's mutual aid.
Right there. Yeah.
I Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Okay, so with feeding folks, with clothing folks, what are some other ways that people can you I keep thinking about like a lot of the stuff that the Black Panther Party did when it like was brand new, like children were being watched, like people like took
hmm
care of people's kids and
hmm
they fed people's kids. Like there was a breakfast program so they
Yep.
would be able to go to school and focus, right?
Yep.
Um, what other ways, you mentioned something like giving people some money for gas. What are some more ways that people can just do, and not in a I'm gonna pay for your drink at Starbucks way.
Sure.
Um, that people, not that anything's wrong with paying for the person behind you. That's a really nice thing.
hmm
Um, is that mutual aid?
I mean, I think anytime we're giving and receiving, yeah,
Got it. Okay.
sure.
All
I
right. Go ahead and pay for everybody's
when
drinks.
people like when Apple like says, "Hey, there's like a speed watch or whatever ahead," like I'm like, "Oh, thanks, mutual aid." Like literally, somebody reported that, and I'm gonna benefit, and I'm just grateful.
Look at that. That's hilarious. I love that. I love that. Okay. So it can literally happen in any way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so grateful you talked about the Black Panther Party, and I want to talk about too the Young Lords Project. And they're like these kind of groups, like the reason that they were not and still are not liked by the government is because they were actualizing mutual aid in ways that like may helped folks see we actually we
Don't
don't
need
need the government, and in fact we can't rely on the government. And
to.
they became so wildly successful that the Black Panther Party breakfast program was co-opted by our government like that.
Hmm.
We only
Yeah,
have
oh, it
a breakfast
became, yeah,
program
that's right. That's right.
because the idea originated with Black Panthers. And so also that's just what's true. Like mutual aid is also a subversive act, right? Like it's not, mutual aid isn't always just like, ooh, wonderful feelings and I have this nice coffee now or whatever, right? Like it is also some
Right.
like some grueling work and it is subversive and sometimes outright rebellious, depending upon like where you are and what your community needs. Young Lords Project, they took over an entire TB testing mobile testing unit back in the 70s and took TB testing to Puerto Rican neighborhoods that weren't getting access to it in New York like
Hey.
that, I mean, like you hijacked a mobile
Yes.
testing machine because that's what your neighbors need, right? So like I'm
Yeah.
that. What do your people need? What do your neighbors need? And that's where we're plugging.
I mean, and if
Libraries, food boxes. I mean, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
The refrigerators that I've been seeing. I mean, and
Hmm.
I know my TikTok feed is for my brain, so it is showing me like people filling all of these refrigerators that are in front of community centers that's full of fresh fruits
Right,
and vegetables and all kinds of stuff in the boxes, cans and bags of all kinds of food that people can just come and get. Like no one's policing it. And I
right.
think that is also a hard concept for people to have because people don't, people are like, well, who's regulating it? What if they take too much? What if they, whatever? And that is something that I feel is birthed out of capitalism. Like that is we have that's that there's not enough
Yeah.
mentality. And so when people can just go up and just get whatever they need or
Hmm.
more, get
Hmm.
whatever, and then do whatever you need to do with that. Like no one's policing that. That
Hmm.
helps reiterate that feeling of where we're going, we're getting to self recovery.
Yeah.
Love that.
L.
And
Roberts would say, abolish the cop in your heart. Like, we don't need to police what people's food and
abolish the cop in your heart.
like we don't need to. And so anytime I'm trying to like put a restriction on someone else, I'm like, what? That's the cop in my heart. Thank you.
Yes. I love that. I've started having so many quotable moments on these episodes that I've just brought a notebook because I'm always like looking around like where I need to write this down. There's a list now because
Yeah,
I do need to just write down these quotable moments. And to get a little bit churchy about it, like this is all Jesus stuff.
all of it. Yeah. I would have said that a long time ago. Had I known we were gonna get churchy, we would have been already.
No, I think it's
Yeah.
important to do that because there's been such a disconnect with church and with I don't know that there's been necessarily a disconnect with spirituality, but there's definitely been disconnect with the institution of church because it has been turned into something that it wasn't meant to be. It's very all of the things that there are churches, not all churches. There are churches that are a lot of the things that um it's not supposed to is literally the opposite of what it's meant to be.
Literally.
Um and so I think about this in this like it just sounds like the stuff that Jesus was saying like you don't have to yell and scream to everybody that you are good or you are a Christian you are whatever that's not the word that he said he didn't say Christian but you don't people will know by the way you act.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that is what I've been talking about with allyship. Like, just be that. You don't have to yell it. In fact, you yelling it is making me give you side eye. Why you gotta yell that? Now I don't believe you. Now I would rather you leave here, this place. So all of this is that. And I
Yeah.
love that because that no saying that here can help people get back connected to, especially if that is something that they desire, a connection with religion or just with a version of their spirituality. This is almost like license, like, okay, it doesn't have to be in this big church place with this person who's telling me that I'm wrong for all of these reasons for existing. It can just be me interacting and helping and loving on my fellow humans. That can be church.
Absolutely. Every Sunday afternoon, I go to Sunday Share, which is Circle City Mutual Aid and Food Not Bombs, and it's at across from the Central Library downtown Indianapolis. And feed folks and take harm reduction supplies and clothes and whatever we got. I took produce all summer because I was harvesting produce to share with neighbors. And some are houseless, some are just hungry, and everybody eats though. There's not everybody who's there wants food, eats, and we eat together, we commune together. We have a neighbor, DJ Untouchable, who plays music and we dance
Mhm.
together, and that's church. That's
That
church.
is church.
Yeah, and I regret the fact that the church has become another institution that's failing us
Hmm.
because I don't believe that's what Jesus intended. If you look at Isaiah
Right.
61 and the way in which Jesus affirmed Isaiah 61 in the New Testament, go ahead. He said, I've anointed you, and he goes through a list of things, and it's all about healing, it's all about restoration, and it's all about preaching the good news, teaching the good news to the poor. And to the poor is specific, not just because the poor are needy, but the good news is we have everything we need. And that scarcity mentality that comes through white supremacy and capitalism, through our oppressors, that is what gets us to believe, right, that like we don't have everything we need. But the good
Yeah.
news is, hey, everyone who's not a billionaire around, we have
Yeah.
everything. And we don't actually need to rely upon these corporations and these institutions. And that's the good news. That's the real good
That
news.
is the real good news.
Yeah, and you may or may not be getting that at a church TM, but like
Right.
there's church everywhere.
Come on, TM. Yes.
I have to spell it out like a Gemini, church TM.
TM. Yes. And I saw it in my head. Yes. I love that so much. And I just want to, for the folks who are watching, if it's okay with you, Rita isn't just like uh talking about scripture because she just happens to think the Bible is cool. Like she is a church kid. Like she
Hmm.
was raised in a church, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
I a pastor.
by a pastor, right? Not just a person who goes to church, but
I don't go to a church with a steeple anymore, but I do go to Sunday Share. I go to Sunday Share every Sunday, and that is church. Yes.
yeah. So that is where that knowledge comes from. It comes from your grandfather.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, he absolutely.
Yes, yes.
I
So
hate the word. I'm still in it. Like it's in me.
yeah. And it's beautiful to be able to have an example that it doesn't have to look a certain way.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to look the way I feel
Right,
capitalism and white supremacy is telling us that church has to look.
right.
It
Absolutely.
doesn't have to look that way. It can look like Sunday Share.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And I bet you, wherever you happen to be listening to this, that there is something like Sunday Share near you. Find it, go, bring
Hmm.
some
Not
stuff.
started because it's just a matter of bringing stuff
That's
to.
right. That's
Hmm.
exactly right. If it's not, start it.
Yeah.
Because how because how's it gonna happen without you? And because some people think that, oh, I don't know enough and I'm not this enough. And that's just a lie. I
Hmm.
just feel like we are all equipped with everything that we need.
Yeah.
You are enough
Hmm.
right now, with
Hmm.
whatever you need to do the thing that you care about the most. So
Right.
just do it.
And expect to mess up back to like allyship and having that like deep acceptance of like we're supposed to be messing up. Like, remember like the 5 steps of an experiment? Like you got to try it out. And then you
Yes.
come back and be like, some things worked and some didn't work. And like our
Yes.
hypothesis was correct or a little bit correct or off entirely, but like that's the experiment. And we have to like, yeah, just really check our egos and understand that we're here for our survival and our liberation.
Yes. Because shutting down and stopping and sitting inside of shame isn't helping you doing it isn't doing anything for anybody but you.
And not even much for
N-
you.
Not even for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good
So
for
come
your
on out of
ego, but
that.
why do we want to feed that? Yeah, yeah.
Right. So come
Right.
on out of that. Come on out of that. That isn't helpful. And so many people do that. Like, oh, I'm not going to say anything anymore. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do anything anymore. Well, how the hell is that helpful? It's not. It's not. So do something. And what I've learned today is that there are so many somethings
Mhm.
that can be done,
Mhm.
and it can completely snowball into something big or even just big for you in your life. How did you get started, or how was it introduced to you, or were you just like in it somehow?
Mutual aid in itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot like you, right? I like being raised in the church and the way that my family values are set up is like it was what you did,
Yeah.
right? And so like I think it's something that I've practiced for a long time without realizing that this is what I practice. It's not been since like the past 10 years that I've done like studying on how this has occurred over the course of history.
Mm-hmm.
Book I would highly recommend is Collective Courage by Jessica Gordon Nembhard. Britt Red put me onto that one. And Mutual Aid by Dean Spade. Yeah, those are good starters. But there's a lot of like material also to just like help folks conceptualize what the heck we're talking about and hear examples of how it's been done over the course of history that we could be learning from, right? Like
Yes.
there's so many times when folks have been really desperate because the government was failing them actively, and
Mhm.
um, we could be learning from folks who have come before us who have survived and created new worlds inside of that world for their own survival.
And it's so important because there's no will that needs to be created. This is
Right.
something that's been going on since the beginning of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as long as there's been humans, there has been mutual aid.
And even plant life and animals.
Right. Oh,
We
that's right.
all
You talk
we're
about
all doing,
cells.
yeah,
Yes, yes. As long as something has been existing,
alive. Yeah.
there's
Just
been
back
mutual
to
aid.
back to church. Like, yeah, well, think
Yeah.
about, we're even gonna buy into creation story. Like, actually, it talks a lot about being able to having to rely on the interconnectedness and interdependence of each other is all in through the Bible.
I love that. I love it. And I feel like this is something that is deeply meaningful, but relatively, if not completely easy to get started to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
These are actionable steps that can happen today,
Right now. Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now.
Go through your fridge and what you're not going to eat, but it's going to be expired the next 2 days. Go put it in a fridge. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much stuff that we would if we just had some forethought, right? That like, oh, I don't need to throw that out. I can help someone else eat with it. So
Yeah.
there's so many things.
Yes. And that is how so many people are like, have been asking, like, Rashida, how are we going to get through this? And I personally was like, well, you know what? My people been getting through this since we were brought here, so I'm gonna be fine. We've been doing this. But
Yeah.
this is how, if especially if you aren't a part of a majorly, marginalized or oppressed group, this is how you do this. You
But,
use your unearned advantages to help folks who don't have them. And sometimes your unearned or earned advantage is that you have extra food in the refrigerator,
yeah.
that you have an extra lawnmower because you didn't know what to do with your other one when you got a new one.
Hmm.
There's so many things
Yep.
that you can just look around the room that you're in and
Mhm.
figure out how you can begin right now to start giving and receiving to your fellow human. Because I don't even want it to be thought of as like I'm helping my fellow human, because there's still a it feels like a power dynamic there that
Charity, solidarity.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And this isn't charity.
Mm-mm. We all eat. Everyone eats.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I speaking of eating, I feel super fed. Like this.
Too. I'm grateful.
Oh, I'm so grateful.
You know, mutual
Thank
aid.
you.
See?
It's everywhere.
Everywhere all the time. Gratefully. We have examples everywhere. We can be learning
Oh,
teaching
this
it.
was this was more than good news to me. It is the good news. It's the
I
good.
agree. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I am
you.
like normally I'm like "Rah, rah, rah," but like I am so like like waiting to exhale. I'm just like
Shooby-doo. That is a really long exhalation when you listen to this song. I'm like, that's a good breath exercise, actually. Thank you, Whitney. It
really like
really is.
that
Yeah.
diaphragm together, okay? Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a bunch of these links that we talked about today in
Great.
the description. I'm so like my brain is like like I can't even say the words. Is there anything outside of mutual aid that you want to hype up before we go?
No, that's it.
I love it.
We have everything we need.
What else do you need to? Yes.
Mhm.
If I'm going to talk about mutual aid at some point in my newsletter, so sign up for that. The link is going to be in the description. And y'all just have a good day, because I'm going to sit over here and I'm going to just be quiet and let all of this goodness soak in. I love you deep.
I
Thank you so
love you
much
so
for
deep.
being
I
here.
appreciate you and everything you do. Thank you.
This is just the beginning, y'all. Come back next week. We'll have more wonderful things. Bye.